Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 190 of the Arc Junkies podcast. Joining me today is Michael Monsivais. Michael is a welder for the Pile Drivers Union in Southern California, and he's got an amazing story. He spent much of his youth and adult life incarcerated in Maximum Security Penitentiaries because he was on a bad path in life and made some poor choices. Michael has one hell of a comeback story. During his last prison sentence, he built a welding school inside the prison to teach inmates a skilled trade and prepare them for the release back into society. Michael founded a 501c3 company called No Locked Doors to help train inmates and get them hired once they've paid their debt to society. This man's story is the epitome of giving back and helping others get into welding. We'll get right into his story after a quick word from the supporters of the show. Today's episode of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Everlast Welders. There's a storm on the horizon, and today is the day that Everlast releases their newest machine, the Storm 215 IC. The Storm 215 IC is the newest addition in the multi-process lineup featuring MIG, stick, and plasma all in one unit. This machine is capable of 200 amp MIG welding, 160 amp stick welding, and 40 amp for plasma cutting. And the best part is, you can pre-order your Storm today at everlastwelders.com for the low introductory price of $13.99, and the machine will ship before the holidays. Now is the perfect time to pull the trigger on a new multi-process machine you've been wanting. And don't forget to use code word ARCJunkies in the comment section at checkout when you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal, and you'll get that free Nova foot pedal and take towards upgrade. We're also brought to you by Fronius USA, and right now they're running their Dip into Summer promo, where you can get an instant $600 rebate when you buy a Magic Wave 230i in either air-cooled or water-cooled, along with a Bluetooth accessory. You can choose from the Visor Connect welding helmet or the wireless foot pedal. The Fronius Magic Wave 230i AC/DC air-cooled TIG machine is another huge step forward in the welding industry. Fronius brings their state-of-the-art welding technology to a brand new AC/DC air-cooled TIG welder. Every time Fronius comes out with a new machine, a new standard is set and the world of welding takes a huge technological leap forward. This machine is no exception to that, and we know you'll be impressed. The Dip into Summer sales promo is only available now until September 30th, so you still have time to take advantage of this awesome deal. We're also brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys. Rockmount makes some of the coolest electrodes you never knew existed. Check out their website, rockmountwelding.com, and review their full list of consumables to include specialty welding rods and wires for dissimilar metals, cast steels and cast irons, special alloys, and even rods for unidentifiable steels. They also have a full line of hard-facing and surfacing products to protect, rebuild, and repair all of those attachments to keep them from wearing down. And while you're there, check out their section of burr bits, grinding discs, drill bits, and saw blades. And now, Rockmount's made it even easier to get their products delivered to your business. Hop on over to mscdirect.com and purchase your Rockmount products directly through their website and get free shipping on all orders of the Rockmount products. We're also brought to you by the Step Wedge. The Step Wedge was created by Jamison Burt, a triple-ticketed journeyman in the pipe trades and inventor and patent holder of the Step spatterproof wedges. He's a Canadian, and he's dedicated to manufacturing high-quality and innovative tools for the pipe welding industry. Step wedges are available in 3 sizes, 4-inch, 6-inch, and 8-inch, so you can handle any gap on that print. The Step wedges are incremental, so you can handle gaps from 3/32 all the way up to a 1/4 inch. And for my friends across the pond in the UK and Australia, they also carry a metric step wedge as well. Each flat surface on the step wedge is machined to 5/1000ths of an inch tolerance and made from hardened stainless steel so it won't contaminate your exotic alloys. The spatterproof wedge is plasma nitride carbon steel, making these wedges nearly indestructible. And right now, Step Wedge has a great deal for listeners of the Arc Junkies podcast. When you buy any Step Wedge, use code word ARCJunkies at checkout and you can get 10% off your order. Head on over to gapandtack.com right now and take advantage of this great deal. That's gapandtack.com. Wedges made for professionals. And one last thing before we get into the show. I'll be at FabTech all week starting Monday, so make sure to tune into Instagram and check out all the cool stuff I'm getting into with live podcasts featuring Nate Bowman, Rush Kane, and Dabs Wellington. If you're at FabTech, don't forget to stop by the Arcs and Ales event brought to you by the American Welding Society and hosted by Stephanie Hoffman and myself on Tuesday evening from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Northman Beer and Cider Garden. And then on Thursday, I'm going to be battling it out with my buddy across the border, Mr. Max Roan of the CWB podcast, as we go head-to-head in a weld-off at the Weld Metals online booth hosted by Justin the Fabricator. And once the event is over, you get to be the judge by casting your vote on Justin's Facebook and Instagram page for Team America or Team Canada. It's going to be the showdown of the century. All right, you know what time it is. Fire up your machines, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
You're listening to the Arc Junkies podcast. Helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me today is Michael Monsivais. Michael, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason. I'm excited to do this.
I appreciate your time. I spoke to my buddy Armando. He runs the Bottom Dwellers Dive Shack podcast, and he's like, you got to reach out to this guy, Michael. He's doing some really cool stuff. He's got this 501c3 company called No More Locked Doors. He told me a little bit about your story, but not a whole lot. And then I searched you out on Instagram, and it just blew me away. I was like, damn, like this dude's been through a lot, and to see where you're at today and what you're doing now and how you're giving back to the community, it's perfect, man. That's what I like to highlight on this show is the people that are giving back to the community and doing things. And I couldn't think of a better person to have on for an episode than you after hearing your story.
Well, thanks. I'm out there trying to just help anybody who wants to help themselves.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me, like, let's start at the beginning. Like, you grew up in South California, in Chino, right?
Yeah. Southern California. Chino's my hometown. Grew up in the neighborhood. Poor family, poor community. Neighborhood. Pretty rough neighborhood back in the day. My parents were, they had drug and alcohol issues and stuff like that. So, we didn't have the best household on the planet. And just coming from a rough, dysfunctional family, I didn't want to be home, as I got a little bit older. So I used to take to the streets. And before you know it, I started hanging out with the fellas in the neighborhood. And, just one thing led to another. I got too involved with them, and I started getting in trouble. And before you know it, I spent 27 years, off and on, but mostly on, incarcerated because of my choices, and stuff. So I eventually, picked up a trade, which was welding. I got my LA City welding license and my structural steel licenses, and joined the Southern California Carpenters Union as a pile driver. And I've been killing it ever since, and I haven't looked back at all.
That's just insane. And like, so, when you were kind of going in and out of jail, I mean, that was like a vicious cycle that you were going through. What was it that caused you to say, hey, like I'm tired of going to prison. I'm going to start changing some things. I'm going to do things a little bit different now. Because I know, like, I've got family that's been in and out of the system. My brother, he's been in and out of the system his entire life. And especially, it's probably very similar in California. Once you get locked into it in Florida, it's like they're looking for you now. They got you under a microscope, and anything any little thing that you do, you get snatched right back up and put back in.
Yeah, it's the same way out here. And I became, as a youth, I started going to youth, facilities and stuff like that. And just being from the streets in the neighborhood, once you're in, there's really no way out. Every time I came home, I had to go to the same house, the same neighborhood, the same street, same friends, same police, same everything. So, it just was a cycle. And growing up the way I grew up with the people I grew up with, it was kind of like normal. That was like the normal thing. All my friends were in and out. So it didn't seem anything different. And I got so entrenched that, I couldn't really just leave, because I knew once I came home, I had to go straight there, and if I try to get out, it would just be problems and stuff like that. So as I got older, I started realizing, hey, man, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be like a lot of my friends who are never coming back. I don't want to be like a lot of my friends who got killed in the streets or in prison, or became strung out on drugs. So I had to figure something out, because I was getting older, and I'm like, now what am I going to do with myself? I got kids, and I got to be able to provide for them, and I do not want to see them follow the same footsteps that I took. So I had to do something, and I said, well, I'm a hands-on guy. I'm not really a book smart guy. So what could I do so I can make a decent living? So I started searching my options. I came across commercial diving, went to school, became a certified commercial diver, got my welding certs, and then found out that the Southwest Carpenters, the pile drivers, they have divers, welders, and all kinds of other stuff they do. So I ended up joining the union. They took me in, and it's been off to the races ever since.
Right. And your last term in prison, I mean, you stayed in for a little bit. I mean, I think you did 130 months.
Yes. Yeah, I did. Out of that 130 months, I got busted for a small-time nonviolent drug trafficking offense. And while I was in there, I was already on my way out of the neighborhood. And because of federal conspiracy that I got picked up on, I was down and out during that 2008 recession and was out of work for a while. So in order to survive, I made the horrible mistake of going back to, the only thing I knew how to make money was, hustling on the streets. So I made a mistake, and a friend approached me with a proposition of a way to make a few $100. And little did I know he was working for the federal government as an informant to get himself out of his own trouble. And so he set me up, and they came and got me about maybe, I want to say about 18 months after the offense. I was already back to work, and I had just had a daughter, and, I was completely gone from that. And they said, hey, hold up, remember this? And so they took me to federal court, and because I wouldn't inform on my other friends, they socked it to me, and I ended up getting a 130-month sentence for 38 grams of controlled substance. So it was a tough break, and I lost everything when I was gone. My daughter's mom had moved on. I was gone for so long that she had just moved on, and I lost everything that I owned. And so while I was in there, I could say, well, I could be bitter and I could be upset, and I can just throw in the towel, or I can keep pushing and get through this and figure out a way to make the best out of it. And one day I was talking with the education staff, and kind of, just told them they should start focusing on some better programs at the facility to really, if they really wanted to help people, start creating programs that are actually going to help the people when they come home. And so they asked if I had any suggestions, and I said, well, I'm a welder, and I'm in the union, and these are my wages, and I made the mistake that I made, and moving on, when I come home, I'm going to be able to go right back to that. So they asked if I could put together a proposal, an informal proposal on paper, and I did. And they liked it. So they asked later if I could put together a formal one. And so I wrote a budget, I wrote a plan of operation, a curriculum. I designed the shop, and wrote a budget for it. And it took a couple years to go through the process, but it got approved from everyone from the warden to the regional director to the director of the entire Federal Bureau of Prisons. And so they allocated the money for the program, and the money came. I ordered everything I needed, all the materials. We built the school in a, it was an abandoned building they had that wasn't being used. So we built the welding shop in there, and then I taught it for about 3 years. And with my support of the union and the American Welding Society, and a few of the other trades that utilize welding, they supported me, and we were able to make a successful program. We brought in a local community college to make it nationally accredited so that the students could get college credits. It had the American Welding Society stamp on it. So once they completed the program, if they were able to pass the practical exam, they were able to get their structural steel certs, which is recognized out in the streets, because most programs in prison, it's just a prison from such and such facility saying that you took this program, which doesn't mean jack out here. So I made it the best way I could, and made it accredited and recognized out here. And so a lot of people, they had something to go home with and look forward to when they came home.
That's just insane to me. It's really, really cool what you've been able to do, because it's not like you didn't set up like an introductory program to welding, like just to teach people the basics. I mean, these people are going through, they're learning the fundamentals. I mean, you've got an accredited facility inside of a prison, and by the time they finish the program, I mean, they're getting industry recognized certs. So yes, I mean, you're set up through an accredited testing facility. I mean, it's like a legit welding program inside of a prison. How hard is that to manage? Because I know there's certain things that you can't have inside of a prison. I mean, how did they regulate all that? Like a chip and hammer, or wire brush, or TIG wire.
It trust me, it was a nightmare. From the beginning, a lot of people told me I was wasting my time. Both some of my peers in there and a lot of the staff were like, "You're just wasting your time. They're never going to do this." I was in a high security facility, so they were like, they are not going to allow any of this stuff on this yard because people will go ballistic with the metals and the welding rods and all this stuff. So I just zoned all that out and said, you know what, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. And I kept fighting and fighting until we were able to get the program approved and funded. And we wrote a plan of how to store everything and secure, pretty much like lockers, like a vault, almost like a vault, these big metal security doors with big bolt locks and stuff. So we had shadow boards for all the stuff. So every chipping hammer, everything was accounted for. The students were allowed, like 20 rods per person. And with the supervision of course, correctional staff, they would monitor the students in the booths and account all the stubs back for the welding rods and stuff like that. So we were able to make it work, and prove to everybody, you put your mind to something and you stick to it. You could do some pretty crazy stuff.
Now, how did you set it up initially? Like what resources did you have up front to be able to start, saying, well, I got to build a welding program inside of a penitentiary, a high security penitentiary.
Yeah.
Where do you start with, the curriculum and the proposals and all? Like, what resources did you have access to start, just to get the ball in motion?
It was hard. Most of it was based out of my own personal knowledge of welding. I went to a couple vocational schools prior to my incarceration. On that one, where I went to dive school, and then I was going to the structural schools to get my structural certs. So I kind of pretty much understood the way that the other schools taught, welding, the learning process. So based on all that, I wrote my own curriculum of that, and plus what I learned in the field of what's really important to focus on. And get these guys, cut all the fat out and just give them the straight meat, so that when they come home, they got exactly what they need to get in this industry. So it was pretty hard at first, because just to get the budget together it was a nightmare, because I have no resource, I have no internet, I have nothing. So I had to bug staff all the time to look up different equipment for me that I knew I needed, and get prices on it. And I was able to order like a Granger book and some other companies that sell a lot of these products and materials, and get prices out of that. And that's how I put my budget together. And then we had some staff reach out to the Allen Hancock Community College to see if they were interested in participating in this. They had a kind of like a introductory welding program over there. So I figured, well, they already have a program. So if we can get those college credits brought over to us, and then with the blessing of the American Welding Society, we can get them the actual certification and become our own recognized lab. Hey man, we made it happen. So, I was real fortunate to just be persistent enough to show this some of these staff that I had to rely on, that I was serious, and that there was a good chance that this could be the best program ever to come to this place. And once we built it, and they seen the amount of students signing up for the class, it was like the line was long. I'm talking about really long. So how do we pick our students? So we figured out the best way to do it is to reach out to those that were shortest to release, so that our target was like within 2 years, because we had two programs. We had the college program, which was 12 months long, and then we had we called it just the regular vocational program, which was 6 months long. So we, based on those time frames and the amount of time the individuals had, that's how we got them in. We picked 2 different classes. We ran it 5 days a week, and we just got the guys closest so this way they got their cert and it was fresh as soon as they got home.
No, that's incredible. I've got nothing but respect for you. I just put together a 15 booth welding program, but I had all the resources. I had Google at my hands, at my fingertips. I had my cell phone so I could text a rep, if something's going wrong or I need an updated quote, or I couldn't imagine, being in a cell trying to set up a welding lab with very limited resources, having to ask a CO, hey, can you look up a price for me? Can you look this up? And that's just insane, man. Congratulations on everything that you've done.
And after all the hard work and everything was finally done, every single time after everybody told me it was impossible, every single time once we had it going, that the big shots came in from region, the big shots came in from Washington, D.C., the first place they took them to was the welding shop. That was like the highlight of that facility, the welding shop. They ended up, some of my friends in there blessed me with painting a huge mural inside of the shop. And it is literally, I think it was like 16 feet high by 20 feet wide. And it had like almost a life-size portrait of me on the wall. And it had like a plaque that they painted. It had the founder, and it had my name on it. So they kind of like named it after me. So that was kind of cool of them to do that. And, just knowing that still to this date that program's still running, and guys are still getting meaningful training and a chance to come home and straighten out their lives and take care of their families. That means a lot to me, because I was once lost and I didn't know what I was going to do until I stumbled upon this industry by chance. And, it's been really good to me ever since. So I want to create those opportunities for other people to have the same chance.
No, that's freaking awesome, man. So like, now that you're out, you're back in the workforce and everything, you're running your nonprofit. Who is in the facility, still teaching, like the inmates that are getting closer to, their end date?
They still have Allen Hancock as the accredited, institution, giving that, their credits and stuff like that. And I think they contract now out a certified welding inspector to come out and offer the exam at the end of the course. And they proctor the practicals and send them to their labs. And then once they inspect the test, they give them their license right there, send them back to the prison, and they pass them out once they pass the practical.
That whole thing is awesome. So now, these people are coming out of prison with a skill, and, now they've got industry recognized credentials. Now, how hard is it for them as a convicted felon? Because I imagine if you're in a high, the higher facilities, to get into employment, after that, once they've been convicted of a felony and everything. That's like a black mark on your record. How easy is it for them to get a job with that on the record, but they also have those AWS recognized certificates?
Well, when I came home, I said, I was able to do that, and I did all that with my hands tied. Imagine what I could do now that I'm home. So when I came home, the first thing I did, the first week I did when I came home, is I got everything squared away with the union. Got right back in. They welcomed me back with open arms. I actually got a lot of praise from the union for staying positive and doing what I did to help others, and still representing the Southwest Carpenters in what we were doing with that program, because they used to come out maybe like twice a year to special events we used to do, like kind of like we used to call it the building trades event, kind of like a career day or job fair or something, where all the trades would come out and share, the different industry stuff. So I got right back to work right away, and then I started my nonprofit, No More Locked Doors. I'm like, well, hey, I could still do my thing with my career, but I can also still continue to help others, build that bridge between the guys coming home and getting them into the union now, the next step. Because a lot of guys, when they come home, they have no clue of how to get into the trades anymore. So now I'm that bridge to connect them directly with business agents from my trade or any of the other trades that some of my other friends are in, if they want to go a different route. That's what we do now is just continue to help people. We do a small food bank every week. We do everything from toy drives to, we do a lot of stuff now that we have this 501c3 just to help people. And, I'm pretty much we're real small still. COVID kind of messed us up a little bit, this last year and a half. I haven't been able to do as much as I would like to, but, nevertheless, we're still helping people every day.
Right. So when did you get out and start your organization? What year?
I got out in, I think it was 2018. It was May 2018. I was out of federal prison. However, I had to do 6 months in a federal halfway house. So still under the custody of the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Once I got out of the halfway house at the end of 2018, I got out November 29, 2018. I was back to work the first week of December with the union and stuff. So I've been out now going on 3 years. I haven't looked back since, as far as, my past is my past. Now I'm just moving forward. Been blessed to meet a lot of great people. Now I got people from the movie industry. I got people from the music industry supporting us. So we're really blessed, just to have the support we're getting now to do what we do, because without the people's help, we wouldn't be able to do this.
No, that's awesome. And do you have like non-union contractors as well hiring the people that are getting out, or it's just strictly union at the time?
Strictly union right now. Just, trying to give these guys the best opportunities possible out here in Southern California. You can't go wrong with joining the building trades, organized building trades, with the wages and the benefits that come with it. So I'd rather get them going where something they have that's structured, and they know for sure that they're going to get their raises, and they're going to get their training, and they're going to get their benefits on a set scale, not whenever an employer feels like giving them a raise, or whenever they feel like taking care of them the way they should be taken care of.
Now, was there any pushback from the building trades, because they were convicted felons, or because you were a convicted felon? Was there anything you had to do you have to go back and improve yourself, or like kind of vet some of the people that are coming through, or they were just kind of open to the fact?
The trades are open to the fact. They don't ask about a person's record. They don't discriminate. They'll never say, hey, what's your record, or anything like that. The only thing they'll ask anybody is, are you ready to work? You got the training. If not, I can still send guys that don't have the certs into the trades and through the apprenticeship program. So they can get the training through that. So the only thing they ask is if they're reliable, they can get to work on time, they got transportation, and if they're ready to meet that criteria, then we'll try to help find them, a spot somewhere so they can get indentured into the trade. Nice.
And does the union that you're working with, do they give them credit for going through that class?
No, but it helps, because if their licensing is fresh, if they got that AWS structural steel cert, then we can then send them to school to start working on the LA City written exam, so we can get them in line to take the written exam for LA City. Because out here in California, if you don't have that LA City structural steel license, pretty much none of the contractors are going to want to talk to you until you got it, because everything out here is, by code and stuff. So,
right.
real strict out here with that.
That's another thing I was going to ask you, is because I know LA, like they have their own structural cert. So you've got like AWS, you got state certifications, but LA, you guys have your own cert. Is it just a written exam, or is there a practical portion in addition to the written?
It's just a written exam. It's not easy. You got to know the code book and all your fundamentals and all that stuff. So there's some programs out here that usually a person can take within like 5 weeks, usually like 5 Saturdays. They could take a prep course, get familiar with the code books, refreshing if they need to, the fundamentals and stuff, and then go take that, get in line and go take that written exam. And once they have that license, they're able to pass it, then they can keep it alive for 3 years, and then just make the payments to the Department of Building Safety for the City of Los Angeles, and the license stays good.
Okay.
And as long as your logbooks is up to date, there's no problems.
Is that something that you've thought about, like incorporating back into the prison system? Is like all the requirements for the LA exam, like the written portion as well?
Yes, I would love to start something like that. I've been waiting to reach out back to the Bureau of Prisons. Finally got off of my last tail with the federal government, my supervision. That ended in January, so now I'm completely free of all ties related to my past. So yeah, I would love to bring a structural, the LA City structural exam to them, because without it, it's going to be real difficult to get out there and weld on any of these projects. Like myself, I'm working on the Purple Line subway extension project in the city of Beverly Hills and Century City, and we're building a subway that goes down 100 feet underneath Los Angeles. So we're welding on steel beams that are 3 inches thick and plus, and there are some of these beams are 60 feet long and weigh about 45,000 pounds a piece, and we're putting in massive steel every day down there. So they definitely want somebody that knows what they're doing on these projects.
Yeah, and then you guys have all the seismic requirements too, because all the earthquakes and everything that are out there. So
oh yeah,
I imagine you guys are running a lot of like T8 flux core for like seismic wire conditions.
Yeah, right now we're just using 232, the inner shield flux core. We're using 564 wire. It fluctuates between 072 and 564 wire. Once in a while, they'll have some requirements for stick, but most of it's just flux core because we're welding so much.
Yeah, you get some heavy depositions.
Yeah, some of these like these splices on the piles, there's 3-inch thick splices. So yeah, we're using the 232 or sometimes that 305. Running that flat. The full pins and stuff with that. Because you can just drop so much metal in there so fast with that. Just crank it up and fill it up. So. But mostly though, just 232 wire.
Okay, that's the exact same thing that they're running over here. They're doing the down here in Florida. They're running the Ultimate I-4 project. So all the pylons that they're driving down in the ground, they're running either 232 or NR233, the 564 wire, and it's just they got a backing ring and all that, but they're driving everything down till they hit bedrock. Yeah, I guess the contractor, they bid it for like 40-foot depth. And I guess because they're hitting some pockets in the aquifer and everything, they're driving some of these things 180, 200 feet, so they're like way behind schedule, because they're running these sections in like 20, 40 foot at a time, so they got the guys putting chill rings in there and welding them out in the horizontal position on pipe, driving it through.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, we're welding them on a table, pretty much just laying down some I-beams on the floor, and then running these we call them deck beams, because what we do is they tear out the street and then they start excavating down maybe about 10 feet typically, and then we set these massive deck beams down, and those are every 8 to 12 feet the spacing, and then they come back with these temporary deck mats, which is concrete, 12 by 12s or 12 by 10 deck mats. They're like 12,000 pounds a piece. And then they build it's pretty much a bridge, and they remat the street with that, so that they can open up the intersection again, have live traffic again while we're excavating all the way down to 100 feet. Yeah, so we go level by level. Usually within 15, 20-foot levels, wailers all the way down. And then we come back with the struts across. Some of them struts are like 60 feet long, 5-foot diameter fucking struts. And then once we get that whole level down, then they start excavating to the next level, and then we do it all again. Lookouts, wailers, struts, all the way down, and then go down another level, all the way till we hit about maybe like 90 feet, I think it is.
Damn, that's insane that you guys.
And it's long.
It
is a long run too. This is not just like they said it's a station. It looks to me like this thing's going all the way to China because this thing is long. I've done special repairs on the TBM, the tunnel boring machine. It was already, I think it was almost 100 feet down, somewhere about 90 feet down. And then it was already 1,000 feet into the tunnel. And I guess it hit old oil well pipe or something like that. And it gnawed the whole TBM, I want to say about 2-3 inches of it, like just completely wore it out. So they had to stop it. They had to excavate in front of it a little bit, and then we had to climb through these small pockets, and then for a month and a half, 24 hours a day, 3 shifts, we were going in there and repairing it by welding. So just continuous welding for a month and a half straight, just to repair it to get it to go again. So we've done some pretty gnarly stuff over there on this project.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by AHP Welders, which are ideal machines for students, home hobbyists, makers, and those looking to learn on their own. You can get into stick, MIG, or TIG welding right now for under $1,000 without having to sacrifice performance. I've used these machines several times in the past, and they perform great. Get your AHP machine today at ahpwelds.com. We're also brought to you by Strong Hand Tools. Just hop on over to stronghandtools.com/arcjunkies and check out all the cool, awesome equipment and tools they have to make your life as a fabricator more accurate and faster. We all know time is money, and accuracy is key. So start using some tools that'll help you get more accurate and increase your time in your shop life. Stop by stronghandtools.com/arcjunkies and check out all the cool tools and innovations they have to make your life as a welder and a fabricator that much easier. All right, now let's get back into the show. It blows my mind that you guys are like digging a tunnel underneath California with all the earthquakes and all the other stuff. And
with nothing but huge ass high rises on each side of the street.
Exactly. And that's
huge high rises all around us. I'm like, wow.
I watched a special one time talking about the high rise buildings in like LA and California and stuff. And they kind of build the structure on a bowl so that when, the earthquake hits, the building is able to deflect quite a bit because it's sitting right there in like a semicircle.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating that, that's how you guys have to build on that side of the country to do things. And I think the boring project, isn't that like, that's part of like Elon Musk's whole design and his forethought is to dig a tunnel underneath California to improve the traffic conditions.
Yeah. He has his testing facility in I think it was Hawthorne. I actually did the entrance for his company out there in Las Vegas about maybe a little over. Let me see. I started on the Purple Line about 18 months ago. So right before that, I was in Vegas doing the entrance to his people mover at the Las Vegas Convention Center.
That's really cool.
Same thing, but this project's a lot bigger than that one. I think that was more of a test run, smaller type of situation where he had his guys from SpaceX and a boring company with us, some of us too. It was kind of a weird project. It was kind of like a joint venture where they had a bunch of different people out there. It was us, the pile drivers, with the some of the 433 LA iron workers, and then some of the boring guys, and then some of the SpaceX guys. So it was a weird bunch, but we knocked that out pretty quick, the entrance, and then they started sending that TBM down there to go dig.
Right. That's really cool how he's everywhere, man. Like we did, we built his vehicle assembly building out here at Cape Canaveral, and at the time I was like, who the hell is Elon Musk? And the guys that I was working with, they're all based out of South Africa. Like they came over here, got their visas, started a company. So some of the other guys I was working with, on a daily basis, they were all South African, and they were all like super stoked about this Elon Musk guy. And I was like, at the time, I think it was like 2009, 2010. I had no idea who the hell this guy was. I was like, okay, you know, he's a South African. I think he owned PayPal at one point, and they're like, yeah, like you could give him a grilled cheese and he could figure out how to make $1 million off this thing. And they're talking about this guy like he's God. And it wasn't until like a couple years later that they're talking about the Falcon 9 and the launch pad. And I was like, holy shit, like I helped build that facility. Like at the time, I didn't know who it was. It was just like, yeah, I'm putting up another Red Iron building, whatever, you know. It's just I needed, you know, clearance to get into the, you know, the facility to be able to build it. But it's really cool to see how, you know, he's working in Texas and Florida and California and he's like all over the place. And it blew my mind when they were talking about tunneling under California, you know, to improve the traffic.
That's the only way to go. That's the only way to go now because it's so congested out here. I mean, I've worked on some of the biggest infrastructure projects since I've been home. In this short time, I've done some of the 405 freeway, which is a pretty big freeway, the widening project on that, driving pile along the sides, doing new abutments and on-ramps, off-ramps, bridges that are going over, widening the whole freeway. I worked on the Gerald Desmond Bridge, which is a huge bridge out there in San Pedro, Long Beach area. And there's just only so much you can do to improve traffic because it's just there's nowhere to put more roads. Now you can only go down and under. Mm-hmm. And, you know, LA, for instance, for me, it takes every day for the last 18 months, I've been driving to Beverly Hills and Century City. So it takes me 45 minutes to get to work in the morning. I leave at 4 o'clock in the morning, 45 minutes I'm there max. Coming home, though, it takes me 2 to 2.5 hours, and if it's a bad accident, maybe 3, just to get home after a 10, 12, or 14-hour day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did that drive. I did that drive for a year when I was working for Weld.com because, like, I live like in Orlando, and they're based out of Largo, and it was a 2.5-hour drive just to get there in the morning, and then like 2.5, 3 hours on the way home every day. And like Fridays, it was sometimes 4 hours. You know, you get a bad accident or there's a concert in town. It's like 4.5, 5 hours, you know, you leave work at 5 o'clock, you're getting home at 10 o'clock at night. And it's like, damn, you know, like I'm done. And then you got to get up at 4 o'clock the next morning and do it all again.
Yeah. Quick shower, quick snack, and that's it. Bed.
Yeah. Like I was getting coffee. Yeah. I was getting coffee before I left work so I could get home, you know, and just make it home. It's like, it's insane. So
that's the life of a welder.
Yeah, it's a good life though. But I mean, like, so I want to going back to like your nonprofit and stuff. How did you get AWS on board to be able to help like sponsor you and kind of give you the credentialing and all that stuff?
Well, in there, I knew, okay, if I'm going to help create this program that's going to be industry recognized, there is my specialty is welding, so that's what I wanted to do. So there is no way on earth that I can make a nationally accredited program without the backing of AWS. So we reached out to the local district director, Nanette Samanit. She was based out of Las Vegas. Told her what we were doing, invited her to the facility to talk about it. She came and offered her support, plugged us in with Miami. You know, they seen what I put together and they said, hey man, this is a pretty on point right here. Yeah, let's do it. So, AWS sent us a bunch of stuff for free. They sent us books. They sent us, some other stuff, just, you know, a bunch of other, they hooked us up with the Sense program, which was new at the time to get at least a basic, program going for the guys that, were a little bit, they were doing the shorter program. And then with the building trades, you know, my union came out and said, yeah, this is what these guys need. So the prison was like, okay, let's do it. We can get these guys these wages. Let's do it. And, you know, like I said, Allen Hancock already had the college, they had their little introductory program. It was easy to put them two together to get the college credit. And then also, once we subcontracted a CWI to come out with the LA City approved lab, this way, when the guys pass that, they can come home and take the LA City written exam. That was all the blessing we needed. And Lincoln Electric, they were great. They helped us out a lot too. They sent us some stuff, books and videos and stuff like that. So I kind of like just begged and borrowed and hustled, everything just to get it going. And then once the money eventually landed, the prison was able to buy, the main stuff that we needed. But we started out real small at first until that first funding hit.
Okay. Are you guys using the Lincoln portal at all?
I think the prison was, because I didn't have no access to that, but I told them they needed to register with Lincoln so they could get the educational discounts with the rod and all the jackets and the hoods and stuff like that. So we ordered a lot of stuff to Lincoln because of those discounts. So I'm not exactly sure what they use, because I couldn't be around them exactly when they were using the computers and stuff like that. But I pretty much told them that these programs are available through Lincoln. This is what you guys need to do. And so my boss, I would tell you this is what we need, and he would order everything that we needed. And he also came from a welding background. He had a LA City cert that he was holding on to, even though he wasn't in the industry no more, but he was the maintenance welder for the institution for 20 years. So when they started interviewing staff for the position to pretty much be the babysitter, the supervisor of the program, while me and Alan Hancock, kind of did the teaching part, they would actually bring me around and introduce me to some of these candidates. And once I got to talking to this one staff in particular, and we started talking welding talk, I was like, this is our guy right here. This is the guy we want. He has the LA City. He has, he had his structural certs from when he was in the Navy, and then he was an iron worker for a few years before he got into the correctional position, and then he was the institutional welder for years, so he knew welding. So I said, that's the guy you want, because at the end of the day, we need somebody who has a passion for it, who wants to help the people that are incarcerated, because a lot of staff don't care. They don't give a rat's ass about us in there. So we needed somebody with a passion. After talking to him, I told him that's the guy you want right there. That's the guy who's going to make this program successful and help it stay alive. So they eventually hired him for that position, and it was the best thing that ever happened to that program, because he actually cared.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that makes a difference in any endeavor. Is you got to be passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah. And so it was cool. We all built the shop together, me and my peers, and we started getting that first metal of the tubing and all the angle. And we started building booths and tables and jigs and all that. So it was pretty cool. We had the electricians come and give us the power we needed. And we started off with some, what were those welding machines? We got some, they were like Ready Arcs or something like that. They were decent, the 251 I's or something like that. Those things, they took a beating in there for like 3 years, and they never gave up. They never broke. So I was pretty surprised with that brand, because we had a limited budget. We couldn't just go out and get the top of the line Lincoln inverters and stuff like that. We had to kind of start a little small, but we made it work. And, a lot of people were able to benefit from that.
Right. So how'd you get, because it's not just the carpenters and pile drivers, how did you get the other unions on board to, start bringing these people in? What are you currently doing to get other unions and other trades and stuff on board to hire these individuals that are getting out of prison?
Well, it just all started from me being in the trade for a while. I kind of had an idea of what trades use welding. You got the pipe fitters, plumbers, and steam fitters. They have welders, they're welding pipe all the time. You got some of the electricians, they're welders. The sheet metal workers, the iron workers. So I figured the operator engineers, drive all the heavy equipment and repairing, all their equipment. So I said, I need to do something further. So, I could tell my story all day long to the next man, or, one of my peers in there, but for them to actually see the opportunities that are really behind it, I needed to bring these individuals into this correctional setting to let them tell these people the opportunities that are there. And for them to explain, their niche of the trade, what they do, because not everybody wants to probably do what I do. Maybe somebody wants to be a heavy equipment operator or diesel mechanic that welds, or, sheet metals or whatever. So I started reaching out to I gave a list of all the trades to my boss, and I said, these are the people we need to start calling. So I would literally sit in the office with him. He would pick up the phone and dial, and I said, call this number. This is who we're gonna call. And we reached out to him. We told him what we were trying to do with the program, and we wanted to put together an event called the Building Trades event, which brought all these people together so that they can, talk to the students about, the opportunities that were there. And then they had choices of which way they wanted to go when they came home. So we did that one time. It was a huge success. Everybody loved it, from staff to my peers and stuff. And, so we started doing it like twice a year. And that's how we started getting support from some of them. Some of them were donating stuff to the program and stuff like that too. So it was pretty cool.
Now, have you been able to set up any sort of like work release thing, or is it because like it's a maximum security or high security facility, they don't do work release?
No, they don't do work release. No, they have to wait till they get back out to at least to the halfway house. And that's where I get a lot of calls from now, that the guys are landing in the halfway house, and I can start getting them ready, getting them set up with some of the other programs that I work with that actually have the big funds to get some of these guys the basic tools and, work boots and work pants and, their first hood and, chipping hammers and all that, their utility bags and stuff. And some of them might need to maybe exceeded a 6-month period for the AWS requirement. So we get them in a quick refresher that some of these programs have the funding for, or wanted to get in the program, but they didn't make it, because of the limited spacing. They still reach out to me because they have stuff still posted about me in the institution where people can reach out to me once they come home, and then I can help get them going while in the halfway house in some other vocational program that has all the requirements needed to get in this industry. And based on some of the schools that I work with, I know the best programs are shorter programs that just strictly teach you the structural side. Like say, there's no point in learning MIG and all that stuff if you're going to go structural. We don't use that at all in the field. So I'll send them to some private schools that have like an iron worker structural steel program only, which can get it done in like 8 to 12 weeks versus going for a 6-month period or a year in some of the trade schools. So try to get them the training as quick as possible and get them to work as quick as possible, because they've been gone so long. They need to hurry up and get to work and start providing for their families, not their home.
No, that's really cool. So like other than yourself, because you've got a freaking fantastic motivational story. And you've been featured in some really cool articles like the Forbes, and you've been on several podcasts and radio shows. Do you have any other success stories that are coming out, like, people coming out and like, just completely changing their lives?
Yeah, I got a lot of friends either in there with or other friends that I met, because once in a while when I have time in my schedule from work, I go and I go speak at this drug program that some of these individuals are coming home from prison, and they're required to take this aftercare program, like a little group counseling stuff, help them transition back into the community. So I'll go and speak once in a while over there and share my, in short, my story, and just say, if anybody's interested, here's my card, give me a call, and I'll get them going. So we got quite a few people going. And one of my biggest success stories, as far as like, I had this one female, my friend, and she blew my mind at this. After I was talking, she said, "Hey, can a girl do this?" I said, "You want to do this?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, here's my card. Call me. I'll get you in." So I plugged her in with the vice president of my union. I said, "Look, this girl's hungry. She wants a shot. She sounds serious. She doesn't sound like she's bullshitting. Hear her out." Mm-hmm. And so we got her into the apprenticeship program, and she's already already a 6th period already, or 5th period. And she's already in the women's committee. They made her like a chair in the women's committee for the pile drivers. She's kicking ass out there at Alley X right now on the People Mover project. She is killing it, and I say she's my big success because I don't want everybody to just think I'm just hooking up the guys. You know, this opportunity is available for anybody who wants it. Guy, girl, doesn't matter your race, your background, anything. Anybody who wants a shot and can handle this type of work, I'll go all out to help them.
Yeah. I just think it's really cool that, everything that you're doing with all the, the people that you're doing, because, it's like a felony is a black mark on your record. And as soon as an employer sees that, they're like, psh, on to the next one. And it's bullshit, because like you expect somebody to go in, like they screwed up. I get it. They made a mistake, momentary lapse in judgment, whatever the case may be, wrong place, wrong time. There's a lot of things that, that factor into it. And they've paid their debt to society. They went through the system, and, they did everything they were supposed to do. They made parole, and now you're still going to hold this over their head.
Yeah.
And not give them a shot, not give them a chance. Like I worked with a dude when I was with the structural steel and iron workers down here in Orlando. And like when you work for like some of the contractors, you have to provide a full, open, and clear background search. And
oh, wow.
He had to go to 5 different counties because the amount of felonies. I mean, he had trafficking narcotics, assault on a Leo. I mean, just all kinds of different felonies, possession of a firearm as a convicted felon, like all kinds of stuff. He had to go to 5 different counties to get his record and to turn that over and say, here's everything that I've done. And the cool thing is once they read through his entire file, they said, okay, you didn't omit any details. You can come work for us. But had he admitted like a traffic ticket,
forgot one of them.
Yeah, forgot one of them, like jaywalking on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. or something like that. Like they would have blackballed him. They would not have let him to work on that site. And like luckily, because he disclosed everything, they were like, okay, you're good. Because they were looking for specific felonies. But I thought it was really cool because he's one of the most honest, hardworking, genuine, down-to-earth people that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And it's just really cool that he was given that opportunity, because had he not, we wouldn't have had the relationship that we did. He was at work every single day. He paid his debt to society, and they gave him a second chance. And he worked better than 90% of the guys that had never gotten like a moving violation.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that, people are able to, especially where you're at, give people a second chance. And, say, hey, you've paid your debt. We're willing to waive that. Come in and work for us. We're going to put you to work. We're going to give you a competitive wage. We're going to give you benefits. And on top of that, we're going to train you to do what we need you to do, as long as you can show up every day and you're dedicated to what you're doing.
Yep. And that's kind of like one of the first pitches I gave to the supervisor of education at the facility in Lompoc was, I said, basically, no disrespect to your programs here, but you're teaching stockbroking and real estate classes and stuff like that, not even accredited ones, but you're teaching this when your average, person at this facility doesn't even have a GED, or if he has a GED, that's all he's got, so you need to start teaching stuff that a lot of these guys are hands-on people. They're not book smart. They're hands-on. You could teach a guy how to steal a car in 5 minutes, how to break a gun down in 5 minutes. Why not teach him how to weld? So he has a trade and a skill that he can keep for the rest of his life. And I said, plus, not only does my union or the trades out here don't discriminate on the past, but these dudes are tough dudes like out here. And these are the guys that can hang in this type of setting,
Yeah.
These ain't the guys that have been hanging out in the office all their lives. These are the guys that have been in the streets. So
teach them a practical trade. It's
going to be perfect.
Give them a reason not to go back to that life. If you can provide them with a competitive wage where they can make a decent living, a decent wage, because they have that skill of being able to learn with hands-on. It's so many times like people are trying to fit somebody like a square peg in a round hole. And it's like, this is the one way to education. This is the one way to be successful in life. No, it's not. Everybody learns different. And the people that learn with their hands on, and they have to sit in a class where there's like tons of book work and all this stuff, they're not gonna flourish in that environment. Put them in an environment where they can learn with their hands and watch them grow, watch them flourish. So teaching them a skilled trade because they're good with their hands, it gives them a reason not to go back to that life that they left when they got incarcerated. I mean, I don't, I don't have to tell you, but I mean, I think that's awesome.
I'm just glad I was able to turn something negative into something positive, and and still be blessed enough to have a good career where, like you just said, I have a competitive wage where I'm able to take care of me and my family. I was able to bounce back pretty quick due to these, the wages. When I came back, I went right back to where I left off in the union. I actually got some raises when I came home, being gone all that long,
right.
Because the wages went up, and to move on up and up the ladder and stuff. So been real blessed. So now I'm just like, hey, it doesn't hurt me to share my story and get it out there and inspire others. So, it might spark a flame up in them to go, pursue a trade, a career in this trade.
Mm-hmm. That's great, Michael, man. Like, how can, like, for the people that are listening and stuff like that, how can they help support No More Locked Doors, whether it's financially, equipment, how can they reach out to you? Where can they, contact you? How can they help?
Right now, the easiest way to get at me is through social media. I have to be honest. I'm the worst person with social media because of my real job. I'm at work all the time working, but the best way to get at me is through either my personal Instagram, which is Chino_Mike909, CHINO_MIKE 909, or at No More Locked Doors.inc, which is in my bio on my personal page. I have a Facebook page, which is Michael A, and then my last name's MONSIVAIS. Or if they don't have social media, they could just send me an email at Michael A Monsivais, MONSIVAIS @gmail.com.
Well, awesome, man. It was great having you on the show. What is there anything specifically that you need right now that, like, the welding community or, manufacturers or vendors or anything can help reach out? I mean, do you need supplies at the prison? Other employment opportunities in the LA area? Anything like that?
My next project, once I get some time to put together, some fundraising events, would be to put together like a little mobile unit where I could get maybe a few welding machines together, basic stuff, stuff I need, so that I could go to different cities and neighborhoods for those who weren't at the prison who haven't heard my story, to do an event somewhere, a little pop-up event where we can do an introduction to welding, to inspire the youth who, just regular kids, Boy Scouts or whatever, just to inspire them, with another opportunity. Also with the troubled youth that we work with, I've been waiting since before COVID, we're supposed to work with Boys Republic, which is a juvenile placement, to help update their welding program. They had a little basic welding program that really needed a lot of work done to it to bring it up to, modern times. So I'm just waiting for that to clear up so we can get back to that. But yeah, I just want to put together that little mobile unit with my partners through the American Welding Society, which I'm a rep for the Inland Empire Los Angeles section, so that we can just, inspire the next generation of welders, because all I've been hearing about since I came home is we don't have enough welders. And I am the first person that's been out in the field that can vouch for that, because they just can't find enough welders for all these projects that are going on right now.
Dude, that is awesome. And if you need anything whatsoever, reach out to me anytime. That's the mission statement of the Arc Junkies podcast, is to help educate and inspire the next generation of welders. Like, that's kind of what I've dedicated my life to, is, like, giving back to a trade that's given so much to me. So if you need any help, promotional, anything that I can do, reach out to me at any time. And I think setting up a mobile unit, to keep kids out of the life and give them an alternative, before they get incarcerated.
Before, that's the whole thing.
That's the thing, is get it before they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Open another door.
Once you get entangled in that lifestyle, sometimes you might not have a second chance to come home. A lot of my friends made that one big mistake, and they never got a second chance to come home and have a life. Some of them were taken at early ages, like 15, 16 years old, and now they're 40s still trying to get out. So it's sad, but if we can help reduce the prison population by inspiring the next generation of welders and giving them an opportunity before they end up in there, then that's what I want to do.
Well, that's freaking awesome, man. I thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm sure it's going to help out a lot of people that are listening right now. Maybe some of the vendors and companies that listen to this podcast, they'll reach out and they'll be able to help out as well.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. And definitely we got to collab and do something one of these days and make some more change, help some other people make some changes.
Definitely, man. I'm down. Just let me know.
Okay. You got my number. Hit me up anytime.
Yeah, brother, I will. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this week's episode of the Arc Junkies podcast. You can find me on Instagram at Arc Junkies Podcast. You can email me directly, show@arcjunkies.com. Don't forget to swing by arcjunkies.com for all the cool merchandise, hats, shirts, and hoodies to represent your favorite podcast. Thanks again for downloading, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.